Well, I'm joined now by Professor Alex de Waal, Executive Director of the World Peace Foundation and author of Mass Starvation, The History and Future of Famine. Professor, thank you very much for joining us here on the programme. You've been working in the field of famine, food crisis and humanitarian action for more than 40 years. I just want to get your assessment of what you're seeing and hearing when it comes to the situation in Gaza.
Well, there's two key things that I want to emphasize about this. One is that starvation famine isn't just the phenomenon of an individual suffering from deprivation and the body wasting away. It's also a societal phenomenon. It is the breakdown of society and the sense of humiliation, the collapse of basic social norms, of dehumanization that goes with a desperate lack of food. And one of the things that we see in the worst situations, and I'm minded here to think of 1984 and the famine in Ethiopia that sparked Bob Geldof's Band Aid, is a situation where there's a sort of change in social state. And as those social structures disintegrate, the rate of death among children doesn't just increase marginally, it increases exponentially. There's a change in state. And it's very rare and very terrible. And it's unmistakable when you see it. And what I see happening today in Gaza is exactly that. And it is profoundly disturbing in a way that is truly horrible and very, almost unique.
Yeah, it is disturbing looking at these images coming out of Gaza and these children and the numbers. I mean, the Gaza Health Ministry says 113 people have died from starvation and malnutrition in Gaza as of the 24th of July. 81 of the dead are children, 32 are adults. So what you're describing, the sort of societal breakdown, you're saying we're seeing exactly that through the eyes of these children.
Precisely. And bear in mind that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation will tell you that it's feeding 2 million people a day. Well, when the society breaks down, it is the poorest who suffer. It is the most vulnerable. It is those mothers who have 4 or 5 children to look after, maybe elderly parents, those people who are handicapped. It's not the healthy young men. But the way the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation runs those ration stations, you have to be fit and healthy to get there. And then on leaving the stations, you may be robbed by armed gangs who are stealing the food off the people who have just taken it. So the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation is feeding the fit and healthy, not the desperate. And if Hamas is getting hold of that food, I'm not remotely surprised. They have armed men are always the last people who starve in these situations, which is why the United Nations always takes special care to reach the poorest, the most vulnerable in the places where they are. And they are being blocked from doing so in favor of this law of the jungle approach that the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation
Professor, I wanted to ask you about this because the Israelis are pointing the finger of blame at the United Nations, at Hamas, and the United Nations is saying we're facing all sorts of restrictions. We can't distribute the aid in the way that we need to. I had a doctor here who said that his colleagues, he just returned from Gaza, colleagues who tried to take baby formula it was all confiscated. The Israelis are saying they've put the Gaza Humanitarian Foundation in place to feed the people of Gaza, and that's clearly not happening.
It's not the intent. If you want to feed the people in this situation, you use the tried and tested methods. The UN was running 400 sites where people were so that they could get assistance without having to cross these free fire zones, exposed to the risks of being shot by Israeli soldiers, without being exposed to the armed gangs. And when you have malnourished children, you can't feed them pasta, you can't feed them rice, which is what the GHF is providing. You need specialized therapeutic treatment. As you said, baby formula and other treatments And none of that is being provided. None of that is being allowed in. This is, it's very common to see starvation being used as a weapon of war. But in 40 years, I've never seen such a minutely, precisely targeted use of starvation and rations, not only to starve people, but actually to try and dismantle the very social structures of the community that people live in.
Professor, we're really grateful for your time and your analysis there. Thank you so much.